We are live! Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Lab. We are Sans Jason today, and I'm Mike. I'm also joined by Jay
Hello.
and Tom, of course.
Inmates are running the asylum.
We are running away with it. All right, to begin with, I'm going to read a couple things here. We are brought to you in part by acrealms.com, your one-stop source for everything HeroClix. Check out the forums and follow what's happening. Use the unit section and track your collection. Check out news on your local rock events in the rock section. And, of course, check out the shop for some cool Clicks gear. And while you're doing that, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off your purchase. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com, home of the Apex Insiders. For $3 per month, get your information from some of the greatest minds in the game. They are always the first to post results from major events for both WizKids and The Rock. Check them out at majesticcg.com/apex-insiders. You can even read some things that I or Jay or Tom may have written at some point in time. In fact, Jay's very, very frequent on there and has lots of great information to be read. All right, just a reminder, everybody, we do have a new subreddit, so check us out there. Please do contribute. It is brand new, so we could use the help. And do contribute to our Patreon. We are very thankful to our current patrons, but if you'd like to help us make our channel even better, imagine that, even better than this, you can donate a little bit of your cash monthly, $1 or $2 on our Patreon account. I believe that's patreon.com/marriedwithclicks and reddit.com/marriedwithclicks. Now, let's see here. We're going to move on to our weeks in review. I'm going to start with Jay. What'd you get up to this week?
I went to local tournament on Thursday at 401 with an Injustice League team with a lot of Legion of Doom. I used the useless ATA, which my good friend made.
Yes, Tiago, of
good
course.
Friend of ours. Yeah. And among those games, I actually ended up facing Glenn, also playing in Justice League, and that was interesting because we actually only had one common game element. So I ended up winning that tournament and a toy soldier, which I'm excited about.
Toy soldier.
And other than that, I did not do other clicksing because school crunch time.
Right. All right. Well, moving on to Tom. What'd you get up to?
Step by step. Such a good song.
Ooh, baby.
Thanks for bringing that up, Jay. I'll be singing that for the rest of the cast. I've had a great week. I finally got to play Heroclix this week. It's way too long. It's been since the WKO in Ottawa. And also, I haven't been in the show for a very long time. So, apologies to everybody that I'm back. But you've done some great shows in my absence, and I've enjoyed it very much. And now I'm here to bring the average back down a little bit. The show up at York opened and was wildly successful, and as a result, then I got all weekend to play Heroclix stuff. I got to play in the ROC Win-A-Map tournament that the absent Jason here was judging, and he did an excellent job with that. And I didn't do so good a job in playing in it, but at least I got the opportunity to do it, and that was super fun.
What did you play?
What did I play? I wound up playing a politician-themed team. It was, I think I may have told you about it before, but I don't know if I mentioned it on air.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
It's the Red Sun Superman at his middle point dial, 175 points, along with Mr. Nobody and Nighthawk Prime with diplomatic immunity on Red Sun Superman. And so it was a pretty fun little team, really. I found a couple different things that surprised me. One was that there were very few special objects being played in the whole field, not just the teams I happened to be paired against. I did, in the first game, I was able to steal some pin particles, and I got a Hulkbuster torso against Mike in my game against him. But in both cases, neither one was really a linchpin part of the opponent's force, and nobody was playing Overdrive at all in any combination, Doc Ock or otherwise. And so Mr. Nobody was fine, but he was a bit superfluous. And ultimately, the team was just a little bit too centric on the goings-on of Red Sun Superman. He's a hard figure to put down, but notwithstanding that, the team didn't have the output that I needed it to have. So, I had a couple of different teams that maybe wasn't the best one I could have played, but I also probably could have played it better. But it's been a while, so I was shaking off the rust. And then Sunday, we had a super fun tournament at 401 where Mike and I made teams for each other. And I got to play a cool Assassins team that was mostly League of Assassins. It's actually a martial arts team, but it was mostly League of Assassins, and had a great little time. I don't know where I placed because I had to leave early, but I was doing well enough. I went 2-1 and then had to dart off to work. Anyway, I got to play Heroclix, and it was wonderful. It's been way too long.
That's fantastic. As for myself, I did get to play some HeroClix. First of all, got to see Tom for the first time in a while. He came over and we played did a couple little practice rounds with this team that I ended up playing on Saturday. Went to the same Winamap, and I didn't do all that well. I came in 7th, I believe. I played, and it's just my dice were not agreeing with me that day, and I don't know. I just didn't feel like my heart was in it that day. But you know what? It was still great to be there. Great to play some HeroClix. Great to see a lot of good people and watch one of our two of our buddies actually place really well, 3rd and 4th, Mike and Devin. So my team was Jakeem Thunder, the evil and disgusting Felix Faust, and Clarion the Witch Boy with a Hulkbuster part. It was the chess piece, and which generally went on to Jakeem because then he doesn't have to pick a defense power. Pretty awesome. And I mean, overall, in theory, it's a very, very good team, very scary team, but just didn't roll out well for me that day, and that's quite all right. Ended up running another tournament on the Sunday at 401 Games. It was a 400-point Silver Age, no nonsense kind of tournament, just no tactic kind of deal, and must-have theme. And Tom and I ended up building teams for each other. So I built him a League of Assassins team, sort of. It had it was what if Nightwing was a member of the League of Assassins. So it was for League of Assassins characters.
I have a feeling it might have been more like, what if I built a 340 some odd point team or 350 some odd point League of Assassins team and didn't know how to finish it off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there really isn't much that I had anyway to be able to finish it off. I think that the nearest figure to go with the 4 that I had, which were from Joker's Wild, so it was Rajagul, Bronze Tiger, Lady Shiva, and what was the last piece, Tom?
You mentioned Shiva, Bronze Tiger, Ra's al Ghul, Nightwing, and of course, I also forgotten the last one. Merlin.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Good piece.
So, yeah, those guys with the League of Assassins ATA ×4, which makes them pretty awesome. And we rented it off with a weapon drop because I figured that would be the closest thing that would do them some justice. And that was $391. Whereas you made me a Justice Society of America team based on all the new little dudes, and it was phenomenal.
A few old dudes.
Yeah, a few of the old dudes too. Yeah, the Flash from the Flash set rather than using the new hotness, which was nice.
If Hourman was on that team, I'm quitting this show.
There was no Hourman on the team.
There was no Hourman.
If I'd known it, I would have insisted.
The common Superman and Wonder Woman from the Superman Wonder Woman sets. So the Superman Wonder Woman set, common versions of Superman and Wonder Woman were there, along with Jay Garrick Flash from the Flash set. And SR Alan Scott, Hawkman, the Atom, and Dr. Fate.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
All right. It says that we are currently offline in the panel here. Can you guys confirm? Can you pull it up? Can you pull up our stream? Make sure we're not just talking to nobody.
Live in the corner thing.
It does say live in the corner thing. I just want to make sure 100%. Before we move on with the show here. All right. Yeah, if you could just pull it up in another screen there, Jay.
I'm doing that now. My computer is being helpful.
It is. Anyway, it is. Okay, good. Great. So in the news now, we'll move on to that. By the way, that was a really fun tournament. I ended up coming in 2nd at my own tournament, which is not uncommon. But it means that someone else, the 3rd place, gets the 2nd place prize, and it all works out in the end. The 1st place went to Glenn, of course, because he is awesome and did very, very well that day. I don't remember what you placed, Tom. I can't remember. You were a little bit further down, but it didn't matter. Everybody was happy with the way things turned out. It was a really fun tournament, and we are going to have many, many more of them. We're actually going to, this coming weekend, we're going to have a Joker's Wild Floor event, so one booster and bring a bunch of stuff to be able to build out the other 200 points of a 300-point team. Going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, moving on to the news. In our news section today, we basically are covering some older questions that we had left over. I believe that there was one which was a list building challenge, and that was build a list centered around WKM 16001 Cosmic Daredevil. Cosmic Daredevil. And it's, you don't have to name specific figures, but you should come up with a definite plan for him in the list. Anything from Modern Ages Legal, looking forward to seeing who comes up with the most ingenious list. I didn't quite understand this question. Was it supposed to be that we put together a whole bunch of stuff that we thought would play really well with it? Because you're saying don't name the figures. I wasn't quite sure. What do you think, Jay?
You could do. He has Marvel Knights, or so you can play like Task and Martial Artists. You can like play Taskmaster with him to wildcard the ATA, or like. Oh, it's not a very good figure. Yeah, just like Nightwing from the Fast Forces and other good martial artist stuff.
Give him the symbiote.
Pretty much. Sure.
Double rollout. Little extra help.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. What do you think, Tom?
I also wasn't sure what we were exactly supposed to do, if I'm being honest. If we weren't talking about strictly a 300-point game, then he seems like he would be a good candidate for Night Lantern consideration. The fact that his trait is worded as it is says that attacking characters can't use Precision Strike. That's not specific to his super senses. That's just the fact they can't use Precision Strike. So he would also be a fine piece to have Mastermind. He'd be extremely difficult to take out, and because he flies around and shoots anyway, he could be carrying around a little 50-point Joker that takes 30 points of damage before he dies, and Masterminding off on
just 30 points of damage.
If he can get Mastermind.
Oh man.
So, I mean, the first thing that I think of when I look at him, because he doesn't really, he's not a great piece, but I also don't see too many ways of optimizing what he does, because of the fact that, I like the fact that he deals 2 damage to everybody within 4, but that's a locked 4. You couldn't increase, even if you could increase his range, it wouldn't do you any good. And so in order to make him tougher, obviously you can throw entities on him. That is always an option. But they'll make him a little tougher or give him some outwit or whatnot. Really nothing particularly special there. What I really want to be able to do with him is to give him a little bit of extra oomph from off the board. And the best option I can come up with within the modern age is Night Lantern, which of course doesn't work in 300-point meta. So other than that, maybe throw on a Penguin and then see what I can do with special objects. And it's a tricky one, especially when I didn't exactly know what we meant by list.
Yeah, I don't know. He's 180 points. He's just he's not one of the pieces that I would generally want to build with. Even for casual, I don't think that he's really on my list. In fact, I've had a few of them and gotten rid of a few of them. That negativity intended, just because it's almost like they were trying to overcompensate for his points. Overcompensate his points because of that anti-precision strike power. Because it is a special and unusual power, and now we have the Joker from the new set, who kind of gets around it in a better way. There's also the Spider-Man from Spider-Man, Superior Foes of Spider-Man rather, that gets around it somewhat. So, out of the options, it's like they were just trying to get that idea across with him, but now they've made it much better with the subsequent 2 characters that I just mentioned. So in terms of a list, I don't know, go theme. What is he, Marvel Knights? Yeah, go for it. Martial Artist, Marvel Knights, Cosmic. There's lots of options there. Cosmic, playing with Nick Fury. Him and Nick Fury. There you go, limited team. Not a very good limited team, mind you.
Limited team,
Really?
but it is limited.
Yeah. It's a limited.
Or do you mean the limit isn't limited as far as your standings could be?
Yeah, it's the I want to come in last team. No, anyway, I'm sure somebody would be able to pilot it better than I would. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. I just want to remind our viewers, do suggest topics, etc. So, get your questions in either on our live stream here, which I'll be checking, or on the Facebook page, which Jay will be checking both of those posts. Because we will go over each and every one of your questions at the end. And if for some reason we do miss it, please do remind us and we'll answer it in our next week as well. That being said, Jay has built an OP Kit figure team for this week. I believe it includes...
So OP.
Yeah, OP. It's the Toy Soldier this week, so take it away, Jay.
You got your guys off my thing. I can't see my team.
What do you mean like that? Cursors. Oh, I'm sorry.
I will punch your face in the face.
I'll punch you in the mouth hole. Yeah.
Okay, so I went mystical. Using the Toy Soldier. I built this limited, as we do. It was him, Mephisto at full points, because he makes the Toy Soldier has Pogs that he plays with, and Pogs like Mephisto likes Pogs, and they have a very nice relationship there. And then I added Clarion because he is good and has prob and is a close combat attacker. And as we know, close combat is going to get more important. The Animal ATA because that is perfectly fine and is also helpful for the Toy Soldier because it is a wild card with the Snowfall team ability. And to round it off, we added one of my favorites, character, not version, of the new 35-point Alan Scott for Barrier. And he can even provide JSA to the wild carding Toy Soldier, if that is a thing that is important. But most of the time, the Toy Soldier will probably want Mystics. And it makes attacks, and...
It does stuff?
It does damage, hopefully. What is that? It's a bunch of 2 perplexes, hopefully from Tikal and Mephisto to start. A lot of enhancement from the Pogs and the whatever, and it makes attacks.
Nice.
Attacks are made. Hopefully you win. Hopefully, have holiday fun with Christmassy Toy Soldier and the Marvel equivalent of Satan. So have fun with Satan, guys.
Hey, say.
Is it worth taking a moment to explain how Toy Soldier works? I mean, it is one of the newer ones.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
So Toy Soldier is a very interesting little piece. To start off with, it has 0 movement across the board and has a trait that says Toy Soldier and friendly wooden soldier bystanders can be character placed. But it does have sidestep, and it has another trait called set up the rifle line, which reads, at the beginning of your turn, choose a row, column, or diagonal that includes Toy Soldier. If the chosen line includes all friendly wooden soldier bystanders, place a friendly wooden soldier bystander in that line, either adjacent to Toy Soldier or adjacent to another wooden soldier bystander. You can't place it if there are already 6 friendly wooden soldier bystanders on the map. It has 6 range and the Snowfall team ability, which is a wild card, and a special damage all down power all down the dial, which is a rifle formation rally. Toy Soldier and friendly wooden soldier bystanders can use enhancement, but only to affect other friendly characters named Toy Soldier or Wooden Soldier. When they hit with a ranged combat attack, add 1 action to your action total this turn. So while you'd think that this sort of generic would actually be his own generics, kind of, where you have all sorts of little Toy Soldiers, which are similar stats and have, I think, 9 attack to start.
Mm-hmm. They do.
So you have a whole line of these little soldiers, and they all have enhancement. So you could be doing a lot of 5 damage attacks, and then you get your actions back with the Rally special power, which is similar to the Rally trait from Nick Fury's Shield. So for a little 60-point investment, you can actually get a lot of mileage out of them.
Yeah, I think he's really good.
Although I feel like it might be more of a constructed play because you could then use a round table to get inspirations on it for plus added speed to give it actual speed numbers as opposed to just sidestep.
Right.
It feels kind of thematic. It's a neat little piece. It looks good.
Now, one thing I wonder about, and you being more of a rules aficionado than anyone else in the channel, perhaps you can help. When the line says, if the chosen line includes all wooden soldier bystanders, what does that mean exactly? Includes all wooden, as in all the ones that are on the map are in that line, or the only thing on that line is
all of them, all the ones that you have.
Right.
Very interesting.
So that line has to include all of them. So, you sidestep up with this guy. make a soldier side. It doesn't. They don't all have to be in a direct line adjacent to each other. They just have to be on that column, I guess you could say. So you make one up, sidestep it up, and then there's a space there. You sidestep it up, and whatever.
Now, obviously, you'd start the game with 0 wooden soldiers. This is again a really dumb question, but if the chosen line includes all you wooden soldier bystanders, if there are none, does that mean that any line is good?
Yeah, because any line would include all of them, which is none.
Good. Just wanted to clarify that.
That's a little oddly worded, but that is how it works.
It's like many things in this game. A little oddly worded. Okay, well, thank you.
I don't know if it's the most. I was gonna say I don't know if it's the most competitive piece, but it's such a little investment. It can just get so much damage output, and that's another one of those.
I put it on the higher side of fun, of casual.
You think so? I feel like a roundtable team could work really well with it, especially considering that they're going to be big threats if you let them hit. So
I think it's cool that, given that he's a wild card, he can take the Mystics on your team. Obviously, Mephisto is going to make all of the wooden soldiers prob ready. I mean, all the things you talked about. It makes sense. Mephisto works nicely with Pog creating pieces. We've seen it with Devil Dinosaur. I'm sure we will see it with Penguin. And the fact that you've done it here with Toy Soldier and been able to keep the theme makes good sense. So I know you were kind of making fun of your own team build here, but I think your team build makes a lot of good sense.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
I think it was the best I could have done, given how he's neither here nor there.
Slow, but then again, the nice thing about a slow team in this case is the fact that you've got Mephisto, who people don't really want to hit. Clarion and Teagle can either stick back or can get up in your opponent's face, and everyone else can hang back and take the shots as they come in. This team doesn't need to advance across the board. This team will get across the board by virtue sheerly of creating pieces that do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I also feel like Mephisto really helps with his special power on the first 2 clicks, where you can actually reposition opposing characters and put them where you want to be hit by all your soldiers.
I like that the anti-stealth aspect of that as well. It's really good.
Yeah, the animal ATA is surprisingly good, especially with the turning off shape change, which is not uncommon these days.
Yeah.
So that's the team.
Super common. Very cool, man. Well, thank you very much. All right, going to move on to our next segment, and it is the Clicks Debate Club.
Yes.
We are going to do our second debate. I believe it is our second. I wasn't here last week, but I'm pretty sure we haven't done one in between. As Tom hasn't been around, and this is usually his segment. However, this week I will be hosting it, and Jay and Tom will be battling it out. What did we say, 90 seconds each?
Yep, 90 seconds for the first round,
set up a timer.
And 30 seconds for final thoughts.
Okay, great. 30 seconds for final thoughts. Got it. Okay. So, well, we do have a little bit of a controversial figure to discuss here today. Really, if you're not playing this figure, you are desperately trying to not get, well, there's no other better way of saying it, Fausted by this character. So, none other than Felix Faust is who we're talking about. The argument is going to be, assuming that Felix Faust creates a negative play experience and creates an issue, do we need to deal with him, or how should we best deal with him? And the 2 points of view are going to be Jay arguing to errata him, and Tom arguing to ban/retire him. Let's start us off with Jay, starting now.
I guess the main point of why you wouldn't want to ban him and rather want to errata him is because that's kind of the way this game goes, where we don't have banning so much as just fixing problem figures, especially considering that the con-exclusive piece, and that will be angering to a lot of people who go to all the effort to go to conventions to pick these pieces up, but then to see something like that have to go would be unfair. People expecting to not have their figures banned considering this game. So that sort of reversal of expectations is not really something that should be pulled out on people. Rather, he should just be looked at again, and if there's some, and then obviously he has problem powers, and I think that they can be fixed without just entirely ruining or just straight up banning the figures. So
And how would you do that?
I'm not a playtester.
All right.
That's a good legal response.
Okay, as an example, maybe turn his shut-off powers into a power action instead of a free action. Limit his yellow power to within range, not just anywhere. Energy dampener should be a power action, considering how crazy they are. And yeah, pretty much it. Most of it.
And time. All right, moving on to Tom, who is arguing to ban/retire him, starting now.
All right. And just to get this out of the way, because this is the nature of this type of segment of the show, what I'm saying isn't necessarily my opinion, and what Jay's saying isn't necessarily his. This is just trying to argue the point. So I'm going to argue for why we should get rid of Faust altogether, and I'm going to sum this up in about 3 really simple points. The first one being more errata at this point would only be confusing and ultimately frustrating for people who are involved. Any figure that has been watch listed and had an errata issued is already a bit of a pain to have to track down. Is this the new wording? What's the right wording? Did you print out the right wording, etc.?
Right.
To go through that a second time with Faust would be quite annoying. He's already got more text on his card than virtually any other piece in the game. To then have that text be errated and then errated again and have to always start the conversation of, do you have the errata? No, not like the first errata. Do you have the errata errata? That would be a conversation I don't want to have. The second thing I would say is that, and we've never done it before in this game, but retirement is not. And if we just sort of call it early retirement, I feel like it takes the edge off, and it creates a precedent that if we have this kind of mistake again, we can deal with it in an appropriate fashion. And finally, let it be said that Faust's very concept of design works against the way the game is supposed to be played. He takes the game away from your opposing player, and that is against the spirit of the game. And any attempt to fix that goes against the spirit of Faust. The Strat Logger has, and they can't get along, and the only answer is to get them out.
Perfect. That was right on time right there. That was amazing.
I know.
All
I'm also
right.
keeping time.
All right. Okay, great. All right. So now we're going to move on to, I guess, our closing statements. So we'll move back to...
This is our 60-second
Oh, I'm sorry. This is your 60-second rebuttal. Yes, my bad. Okay, I'm going to set the clock here. 60 seconds, starting with Jay.
You can't just get rid of a figure because the errata will be slightly annoying. I mean, look how much errata is on Felix Faust now. You can't just get rid of him because it's, oh no, slight inconvenience, considering how dramatic his changes have been and how dramatic they've been for other figures. I don't think there's ever really been a problem with errata. And if WizKids publicizes that there is another errata, then there shouldn't be a problem. So I don't really think that argument is sufficient to warrant just getting rid of him.
Fair enough. Okay. Is that all you would like to say? You have 22 seconds left.
All I want to say.
That's all you need. All right, moving on. Tom.
Well, I disagree. I do think that errata already causes a bit of confusion, and the piece itself causes confusion. So anything that goes deeper down that rabbit hole is a bit of a pain. But I want to focus on your first statement, which is you said that it would be unfair to those who've gone to the cons to win him. I completely agree. I completely sympathize. But this is not Faust's first go-round in the meta. Faust didn't get released last month. Faust was a problem from the moment that he got released. That problem was identified, and he was watch-listed. He was errated. He kind of went back for a while, and then he's reasserted himself, and he just creates a bad experience for everybody who plays the game. So it's, although I sympathize with the fact that people who go to the cons to get this piece want to have the opportunity to play him, as long as he's being retired, he's technically not being kicked out of the game. He's just being kicked out of the modern game. Now, you can call that semantics if you want to, but the fact remains it's still true. And he's had his day in the sun. Based on when he was released, if it was any other figure from a booster release, then it would be perfectly reasonable for him to be retired in the near future. So I say, let's just do it.
Time's up.
I know.
All right. We're going to move on to your closing statements. You do have 30 seconds for this, starting with Jay.
Always starts with me. I think that given that there is a playtesting team that is there to do these kind of things, and given the fact that he has shown himself to be a problem given the data, I think they will want, they can and should just sit down and try to fix him without going the easy way around.
Okay.
I think in the way that works for players the best.
Okay. That's time. Tom.
Faust is a piece that is basically designed to take the game away from your opponent. And the game is designed in such a way that your opponent and you are both going to have the opportunity to be able to do things. The two ideas are at complete contrary loggerheads to each other. If we try to fix the piece, we are doing it at the expense of its intended design. If we try to keep the original design, it's at the expense of the way in which the game is played. It is a bad game experience when he is involved, and there's really no way around that besides getting him out of the game early. We've dealt with him this long. Let's let it be gone.
And that's time. Sounds like you want to say, take the game away from Faust. All right.
It was just under the pressure of the moment.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for arguing those points. I hope to hear other people's perspective, as in the viewers at home. Yes, you did say that, Tom, but
really?
that's okay.
No
You
way.
totally did, dude. You gotta watch that again. That was really, really funny.
I'll watch it at work tomorrow.
It was so good. I was just like, really? Did you just say? Anyway,
I'm gonna say the internet still.
about 2 minutes ago, Tom said something that was hilarious, unintentional. So, that being said, I think we're gonna move on to our next segment. We've got Tom with trends and traits and SPs.
All right, I'll introduce
to make us some charts, which is great.
I'll introduce this, and then hopefully Mike will lock up the screen so we can take a look. Now, there isn't a lot to look at. This is a kind of a miniature version of Tom's charts. It's kind of like Tom's charts light, but it's not light the time spent and the work put into coming up with this. I got to thinking, because in the wake of the Joker's Wild set release, we've been talking a lot about something that we've been talking about for a while now. Have we been talking about it since Uncanny X-Men? Have we been talking about it since the Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? You can go even further back than that in some people's opinion. That is the depowering of the game. Is it really depowering? Is it just recontextualizing? I like to think of it as Heroclix neoclassicism, but that's because I'm a stodgy art student. The point is that the game is changing. See how the game might be changed in such a way that well, we take a look at the traits and SPs that represent ultimately the complexity of the game design over the course of the current modern age. The reason I focus in on this is because of the fact that when you take away traits and SPs, then every piece is, more or less, back to the basics of Heroclix, just good old pack powers, numbers, and dials, and you move around, you fight with them. The things that give the pieces the ability to go above and beyond are often the traits and SPs they're granted, and that's also where their greatest complexity comes from. So I wanted to see, we talk a lot about the fact that the game is being depowered, but is that reflected in the trends of the traits and SPs that we've had over the course of the modern age? What are those trends, and what can we learn from them? And so Mike's got it up on the screen. I've just prepared 3 little charts. Now, the first thing is taking a look at the trends and SPs by set. Now, what you've got is 3 lines. This is, I should point out, I only looked at the major booster releases because I wanted to compare roughly even numbers. So I'm not including in this things like fast forces, gravity feeds, LEs, etc. They're a different category of movie sets. They're not included because ultimately I wanted to focus on the basic 5 booster releases that you buy in the store and have somewhere between 60 to 70, or in the case of Nick Fury, upwards of 80 pieces in them, because it seemed a reasonable comparison just as touch points along the course of the last couple of years of Heroclix. The 3 lines that you see represent, well, the bottom line is the number of characters in the sets that have no traits or SPs whatsoever. And as you can see, it's virtually none. Even as far as Joker's Wild, it's like 5. And most of the time, it goes somewhere between 1 to 2. So the dramatic increase of 5 in Joker's Wild may seem, may seem telling on some level, but the fact is virtually every piece that comes out has some kind of trait or SP. The blue line that you see down the middle is the number of characters that have traits and SPs, and this is, I think, the most interesting one of all. We see a spike in Nick Fury, which is hardly surprising because Nick Fury was the largest set. It should be noted there were almost 10 more pieces in Nick Fury than everywhere else because a lot of the commons had A and B versions outside just the primes. Everything else had almost the same number of characters in the whole thing together, and yet the number of characters with traits and SPs has remained pretty common throughout. It's anywhere between, at the low end, a little above 60, and at the high end, somewhere around 75 or so. So within a relatively minor bit of swing, virtually everybody has the same stuff. Now, the top line is the total number of traits and SPs, and it's the one where you see a real downward trend. If you were to superimpose a directional line above that, you would see that line is taking you all the way down from around 175 or so down into somewhere between around 130, if you were to just draw a straight line. So that one is actually in decline. So this is a pretty obvious chart. This basically says it's about the same number of characters are getting traits and SPs, but the total number of traits and SPs going around are getting fewer and fewer. So
looks like the bottom out on the red is 117.
And that's Joker's Wild, which probably won't come as any great surprise to anyone. No. What may come as a surprise to some, though, is that it's not a trend that we've seen dramatically lower in the last few sets. In fact, X-Men and Superior Foes were higher than World's Finest, and were also higher than Superman and Wonder Woman. The last one higher than those was Nick Fury, and again, of course, every piece in that set had a trait or an SP because there were so many of those very basic, Shield, very basic Hydra, cut off one head type traits, etc. Joker's Wild definitely sees a big drop. The overall trend line, however, is going down progressively without it impacting upon the number of characters that are getting them. So it's a general trend, but it's not a roller coaster. The argument that some have made is that basically as soon as we hit X-Men, suddenly a huge roller coaster downward went. Not the case. And although I didn't do one here based on clicks of life or point values, that wasn't a dramatic shift down either. You can see that in the set releases that we've been doing and the way each set affects upon the modern age. There is a tendency towards getting cheaper, but it's a progressive tendency, not a sudden cutoff. Okay, so that's my first thing.
Very cool. Moving on. Oh, sorry.
Second one.
The first slide there. I was thinking, the Thanagarian contributed to the the orange line on the first one, or the yellowish line on the first one.
No, it didn't.
Go ahead.
The Thanagarian had a trait.
Oh no, they do have a trait.
A special power.
Special power. Yeah, they're just so bad.
Yep.
Stop talking about them.
It's forgettable, but it exists, and I do want to talk. I want to address that before this.
No, I brought it up for that reason.
I'm not going to get segued off now, but I'll bring it back up later. Okay, right. The second is, I say traits SPs by type, but in fact I've only identified 2 types. I wanted to say, when I was looking through this, which traits and SPs are sort of the set-themed ones. Things like the Speed Force in the case of Flash, or the Rally and cut off one head in the case of Nick Fury and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Simpler Time in the case of Joker's Wild, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Am I be clear?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When you get those, that's what I'm calling a themed trait. I would also call things like Alter Ego, if it still existed. That would be a themed trait or SP. Variations on the Wild Dials, where you start in the middle and you can use Steel Energy to heal back up. It's basically traits or special powers that have characteristics that cross multiple characters within a set, or sometimes multiple sets as well. So it's a familiar mechanic that we've seen before, either within the context of that particular set or the larger game. And compare that against unique traits in SPs, things that maybe they have I would call can use shape change a unique effect. Yeah, lots of people have it, but it's not sort of an overarching trend so much as just something they give away. So comparing those two and looking at the numbers, I think this is a far more interesting chart because the unique traits and SPs are the top line, and it is tracking a downward progression as well, much like the overall is. So unsurprisingly, as the number of traits SPs in the game are going down, the number of unique traits and SPs is going down as well. Not a massive surprise there. But with the themed traits and SPs, what we see is a low line coming in out of the sort of the old way with the Flash and Trinity War and Avengers Assembled, and I can almost guarantee that if you carried this line back to things like Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy, it would also be lowish. Spikes up at Nick Fury, and then keeps its momentum up and doesn't really drop away substantially up until this point. Even Joker's Wild is a little bit lower than some of the others, but it's still filled with this is how I deal with the bat and simpler time and stuff like that. So we can very much see that there is a shift in design mentality around the time of Nick Fury that has held since, which is trying to give more consistency within a set, to make a set work well within itself through the use of traits and SPs, and create a common language for those sets, which ultimately does make it easier to play in the play within the meta that surrounds that particular set. So when people talk about the simplifying of the game, this is a point that is subtle but should not be overlooked. One element in which the game is being simplified is that more and more commonly active traits and SPs are being created, so that they have the same sort of mechanical functionality, so that once you learn it, you apply some of the specifics of it. So you already know how superior to the other guys works in general. How does this guy specifically work? You already know how a simpler time works in general. How does this guy specifically work? And it does help to make the game easier to understand, while at the same time the number of unique and distinctive traits is going down, leading again to the game being a little bit easier to cope with and grasp when you get sudden injections of 60+ figures every few months.
Interesting. All right, moving on to the next one.
Finally, this is highly subjective, and I want to point that out there, because this is basically traits by complexity. And how do we define complexity? Well, everyone's going to define it a little bit differently. So you should really not look at this chart as anything more than my general sense of the trends. You may disagree, and by all means, if you feel passionately enough about it, go ahead and do it yourself and come up with your own results and share them with us. I would love that. When it comes to defining the complexity of traits and SPs, I set forth a few ground rules that any trait or SP that simply granted the use of standard powers in some way would be a low complexity. So anything that said, can use shape change, that's low complexity. Can use charge and flurry and sidestep, still low complexity. Maybe there's 3 things going on, but they're 3 things that we all know and understand, so they're easy to grasp and to understand. Any trait or SP that involved bringing in game elements from outside the game, like Pog generating elements, Devil Dinosaurs thing and stuff, that would be a high complexity trait. Usually any power that does a variation of an existing power that is substantially varied. So let's take Sabretooth from Uncanny X-Men, who has the ability to attack everyone around him. It functions kind of like Flurry, but it's not described as Flurry. It doesn't work as Flurry. I would call that as a medium complexity special power, because it takes elements of something that we know from the pack and are familiar with, and yet changes them enough that you still need to be specific about their wording, even if you've got a little bit of a comfort zone there. Beyond that, honestly, a lot of it has to do with how many words are in it, how many different conditions are there, and how many different things are stacked on top of each other. You've got some people who have, the Speed Force is a medium complexity trait for me, because, you have to have moved at least 1 square, you have to hit somebody, they have to be in an adjacent square, so you can't use giant range doesn't count. And then after Extra Resolve, you get to add...
Okay, Tom is frozen. Briefly. Hopefully, he will be back momentarily.
It is nice to hear him explain his metrics.
It is. I quite enjoy Tom's charts, as many people do. Tom's charts, they are the best. He should be back momentarily. As you can see from these charts here, though, he's just describing, the general trends of these through the sets. The highest high complexity trait set out of the chosen ones would be the Flash. Seems to dip down around Nick Fury. It darts back up around Superman, Wonder Woman, and then has a gradual trend down as we reach Joker's Wild, obviously trying to make the game a little bit easier for people to understand and get into. As we know, this is an incredibly complex game, which is very attractive for many, including myself and I'm sure Jay, but is incredibly hard to get into for new players. It takes a long time to learn. I described it as 4 months to learn the basics, basically. So anyway, that being said,
I have my own. I have fun math that if we can want to go over.
Sure, yeah. What's your math? Go for it.
I have fun math for Faust.
Faust math? How's that possible? It has the word Faust in it. That's the F word.
It's not actually fun. It's just it's very dry. So
all right,
thanks to Patrick Iboka, we had a each your own thread going over all of the WizKids Open winning teams. And I also, for the purposes of this exercise, considered the Rock World Cup winning team. So taking into account all those games, we had, I believe, 7 events where Faust was on the winning team. So all the recent rounds of WizKids Opens in that. So it was, I believe, 7 out of 22 or 23 events, which added up to 30%. So 30% of the winning team, of all winning teams that are using Faust. But unfortunately, it doesn't really stop there, because to win an event, one has to win a lot of games. So to take the number of negative play experiences caused by him, it starts to add up, considering what? Even at the lowest, Ottawa was 3 rounds to a top 8. So you played 6 games that day?
Yeah, I played a total of 6. No, we had 4 rounds in the morning.
No, at Ottawa it was 3.
Oh, was it 3? Okay, all right. Yeah, so it was a total of 6 games. Yeah,
you personally played 6 games.
Yeah, I did.
So that's
and
a lot.
So did the other Faust that was there.
I was gonna say there are also other Fausts, so a lot of the field, mathematically speaking. So if somebody wanted to do something about that guy, it would be very much appreciated and supported by the facts.
Well, I mean, we're going to do that locally. We have an alternate format holiday spectacular Winamap coming up on the 22nd of December, which is a Thursday. It's going to be half an hour rounds, 200 point Silver Age Limited, which is our own format. I know it's allowed to do. You're allowed to do that. It just won't be counted towards the Rock ranking in general. So, anybody at home who's wondering if they, can do something else besides what they're suggesting, yes, you can. It just won't be counted towards their standings. And the big thing that I did there, and the way it relates to the topic, and this isn't just a shameless plug, is that we banned Faust for it. Yay! No Faust involved in that tournament. And I actually have inside information saying that the Rock will be banning Faust in the future. So, relatively near future. That being said, welcome back, Tom. I can't hear you. All right, moving on. Let's see. I think we just lost Jay as well, so it's really only me. I think Tom, you're muted when you come in, so unclick the mute button if it's muted. And Jay is back. Wonderful. We're having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. This is what happens. This is what happens when Jason is not here.
I just accidentally closed the window. I did not disappear on you guys.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. You were missed briefly. At this point, we're going to move on to some fan questions. Thank you for that addition, though. That last-minute addition there, Jay, though. That was...
Math is always fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. So, Jay, I know this week you're going to be dealing with Facebook questions, so take it away.
Let's start off with the first question, I hope, because they both said 4 hours at the time. Again, the wording of list. What list would you make involving the new Legion of Doom ATA? All my teammates are useless because we're plugging Tiago a lot today. Due to the low numbers of Legion of Doom characters in Modern, it's going to be Golden Age.
I think he means team building. This is from Thomas Castern. He's a regular question asker on our show, and we always appreciate his input. I think he means team building, really, because I'm not really sure how else you would take that. Is it just like a list of utilities that you'd insert into it? I don't know. In which case, I could just go to the HC Realms unit section and input Legion of Doom, and then just put them all in there.
Well, if you're going to use the ATA specifically, both Trinity War Luther at his lower points as well as the Lex Luthor duo are both good candidates to get minus stats because Trinity War Luther is never going to get attacked anyway.
Absolutely.
And the duo doesn't care because it ignores negative modifiers because that's a great.
That is loop. The most broken effect for that, and that was clarified even on the rules form.
Yeah, I actually locally I played that 100-point Lex Luthor with the ATA for that purpose because I don't care. You can have -3 defense. I don't care. You're not attacking him.
I don't give no. Yeah.
I don't give no anythings.
Poops. Doo-doos. Not the S word. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the first thing that comes to mind for me is the Lex Joker duo, because of that effect. Beyond that, I mean, you can go outside of that theme even just to be able to use the ATA. There's lots of things that pair up fairly well. Let's see here, Lex Joker.
There's a lot of overlap within Justice League.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Which is a very big keyword, which includes Metallo, who is a great piece.
Metallo is really, really phenomenal. In fact, yeah, I mean, Kenji won with Metallo at Canadian Nationals. All right, and Thomas, if we're not answering your question the way you're thinking about it, please let us know, and we'll correct it for next time. But in the interim, we're going to move on to Brian Polling's question. What's that, Jay?
If you know who it is, let me do my job.
Go ahead.
Why is Paris, referring to Paris Gordon, so anti-Jakeem Thunder? Inquiring minds want to know.
It's because he likes
probably
deep fried pickles.
I was going to say because he's trying to lower the secondary market price because he wants the piece.
Yeah.
Which is really unethical given his standing.
I think it's because he likes deep fried pickles right in his bum. He's really, really good player, as we all know. And
the world champion is a good player, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's okay. Could get better.
What is wrong with you today?
I'm just kidding. I think it has to do with the fact that I mean, Scott Crampton feels probably the same way about it as well, from what I've seen in the comments there. I think that there's many ways around him. He is not the be all and end all that people are treating him like right now, but it all boils down to just overhype and hotness right now. And he's a really good, very good piece. But there are
I still need
other
one.
pieces.
Come on. Somebody help me.
Yeah, someone
please.
help out Jay, please. I happen to pull one, so I'm very happy about that. In fact, I have all of the primes now. I finished off my collection for this set on Saturday with Looker Prime from a local Jimmy. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Anyway, I think that just about covers that question. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah, let's move on.
I think it's just a matter of he's new. There's going to be the hype. It's always going to happen. The inevitable comparison to Super Scroll, I guess, just helps him because obviously Super Scroll was a good piece.
Very, very, very successful piece.
Okay. Move your gosh darn cursor. I swear I'm going to punch you in the face. Christopher Smotherman asks, now that we have some new sub-61-point characters to use as chameleon disguises, do you think he will show up a little more often in the competitive scene? Along those same lines, who are some of your new favorite disguises? I think Bizarre Green Arrow is probably the best because you can just not commit to playing him and just bring him in on the fly, and there's almost no way that he will be killed because of his stop clicks and the chameleon rollout thing. So he is a good to use. I like the Penguin. I like the Riddler. I like the Green Lantern. I like a lot of these pieces.
Yeah, Riddler's a really good
Riddler is, although Riddler is, I think, a little more situational because you ideally want to have Batman enemy characters, or at least wildcards to wildcard Batman enemy because, yeah, between his dealing with the Bat trait and his shutdown and his own outwit, he does a lot of shutdown.
Between the last two sets, though, we have no shortage of wildcards and Batman enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, but you're not going to be theming Batman enemies with Chameleon.
No, but you can play for instance, I don't know, Spider Knight with them and then Boro.
Yeah, that's true.
Really easy way to get 12 attack and DSD. Cool. Yeah. I think a few of the current chases, a few of the Joker's Wild chases are good options. I like the Joker as tie-up. I like Hawkgirl situationally because of her very similar trait to that of Green Arrow. Although she doesn't make you attack her, which kind of sucks. That would make her as good as Green Arrow in that particular case. Yeah, there's lots of pieces from this set that are below that point value. I mean, you could even have...
It's really too bad that the grand prize Namor, who's been showing up a little recently, doesn't have any effects based on water, because otherwise Bizarro Aquaman would actually be useful to go with Pornstar Namor.
He's so bad.
But he's so adorable with that sculpt, with his helmet.
He is kind of cute. I'll give you that. Yeah, for
he's
sure.
He's so endearing, but he's just one of the worst.
I think about the JSA characters as possibilities as well. You know, like the Flash with his hypersonic is amazing.
Yeah, but that's an easy kill, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he can get in and out of danger fairly easily with that swing. Yeah,
he can get out of the danger zone.
Get out of the danger zone. All right, let's move on to our next question.
Stop messing with the cursor. I will hurt you with fists. No, stop. No, I'm going to whine.
God, you are such a good whiner. That's a fine vintage you have there.
Mike Bockley asks, we're in that magical period now between waiting for the new set to drop and next season of big events to start up. So for a more lighthearted and fun question, what is your preferred flavor of potato chip and why is it the best?
I guess I could default to ketchup chips because I live in Canada and you can't get them.
What do you mean? Totally can.
Well, you can cross the border and get them. You don't sell ketchup chips in the States.
Oh, you mean they don't have them there? We have them here. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Tom, what are your favorite flavor of chips?
Flavor of chips? They actually probably really...
That is the question.
Are ketchup, ironically. I think Mike was doing his as a joke, but I really like ketchup chips.
Yeah.
Or Smart Food.
I'm not the biggest fan.
Smart Food's not really a chip, but you know, it's an alternative.
Yeah, I think my real answer would be all dressed. Actually, I really enjoy all dressed. And that you can't get those in the States either.
Really? Holy mackerel! How do they live?
I don't know. They eat some very plain potato chips.
I like dill pickle, which is definitely a flavor. I don't think you can get there.
Yeah, you like dill pickle, don't you?
That's racist.
That's not.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, ketchup's the best.
Okay, Chris Stockhouse, who already got his stamp because I put a little stamp in his question post.
There we go. Cute. Stamp.
So it's an official episode. I am so glad because he asked it really last minute. I was getting scared. We had a couple of new maps released in the last couple of weeks: the Warehouse, Cargo Ship, and Ace Chemicals maps. Do you see uses for these maps in competitive play? I'm really digging the Cargo Ship map with its interesting starting areas and tough lines of fire. I think it would work really well with a POG generator team. So if I recall correctly, the Warehouse has a lot of blocking terrain. Or like one of the new premium maps has a lot of blocking, one has a bunch of elevated. I can't remember off the top of my head. And Ace has a lot of elevated and some water. I think that... Oh no. Oh, everything's going wrong on the technical side. What's that? That's the cargo ship?
Cargo ship.
With a bunch of blocking? Okay. Yeah, we don't really get so much of that, just a lot of blocking terrain. It's a different thing. I mean, the WizKids office is, but it's just kind of all blocking terrain, but that has more areas of blocking terrain. Oh, he's back. And Ace Chemicals is decent, although there's not so much water terrain-based stuff, but it's a decent little elevated areas map, which we don't really have so much anymore with no reute, or no ranks, or no the one with all the elevated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be reute, I believe.
Yeah.
Ranks is the indoor one.
Ranks is yes. Ranks is indoor. Yes.
I haven't taken a close look at the new WizKids map, honestly. In fact, by not a close, I mean not any look at all. I didn't even know they were out until Mike bought one on the weekend, so I can't really speak to them. I do need to take a look at that. As for the Ace ones, I agree that Ace Chemicals is kind of interesting. You were cutting out when you were reading Chris's question. What was it with respect to?
We'll just reread it. It's we've had a couple of new maps released in the last couple of weeks. The warehouse, cargo ship, and the Ace Chemicals maps. Do you see uses for these maps in competitive play? I'm really digging the cargo ship map with its interesting starting areas and tough lines of fire. I think it would work really well with a POG generator team.
Okay, I agree from what little I've seen of that map, admittedly, but the Pog Generator team is one. Certainly, also a Hulk or Juggernaut style team that you can just blast through would be pretty cool as well. I think the Ace Chemicals and the Ace Street are a little bit more generic. I do agree that any map that has more water terrain certainly has its uses. We're kind of in a bit of a drought of water maps.
No.
Um,
Oh, sorry. In that note, 1 2
That's the same Joker.
I pulled 2 of them on the weekend.
And why isn't one of those in my hand?
I guess part of the thing was that Atlantis was not allowed for the WKOs. We have no idea what the state will be for Worlds. If they continue to just shut down Atlantis, and for that matter, Atlantis is a water map which is good for water people, but it's not bad for non-water people, really. Whereas maps that actually have water that can be used well so that it does slow up people when they try to chase you down, or at least give a water option to a team that benefits by it, that's entirely water and is going to get canceled or banned from the tournament that you want to go and use it at. That's cool. So I like that about it.
I was going to say more water is good potentially because we are getting the defenders set, and Namor means water. Hopefully.
That's true, but they'll probably all be about 45 points apiece, though. And
yeah.
You want a 25-point Silver Surfer? Anybody?
I do. I was trying to build it.
Yeah.
Like a Silver Age. One of the things for Mike that I was trying to build was a Defenders team, and the big stopping point I had was that the only Silver Surfer who's marginally cheap is 100 points and completely unplayable.
Which one?
He was in the Gravity Feed or the Annihilator's Fast Forces at lower point value.
I could have played that one just for fun.
The Skyways is not bad.
He's probably the best Silver Surfer.
All right, before we move on, I'm going to address the question myself. Yeah, I ended up buying the cargo ship on Saturday because it is really awesome. I would like to get a full set of the maps, but I only have 2 of the WizKids ones right now. That one and I think it's called the parking lot. It's the one with the overpass, and it's got that little section that you just can't get into, or you can now. It's got up and down arrows in two different places, but really cool maps overall. I think WizKids is doing a good job. The only criticism I have for their maps overall is actually the printing quality. It's really dark. It's hard to tell where, like whether. Well, first of all, their blocking terrain looks like orange text stuff, but there's no orange text, so it's not necessarily all that confusing once you're actually oriented on the map, but it is very dark, and it's hard for some people. I know it's hard to tell where a wall is, for instance, as a result. But yeah, the cargo ship map.
Facebook question.
I think the cargo map is a great option for a Swarm team as well. I was also thinking of that team that I know, Tom, maybe I'm blowing this out of the water or putting it out there for the whole world to see, but you had this limited team that was like Green Lantern with Mixie and Nightwing, and it would operate actually very well on it because of the size change mechanic. To be able to hide when it's not your turn and be in position and then get up there and really blast the crap out of your enemy.
I don't think there's anything particularly privileged about that. That was an early version of the choose which tent pole you want team that I brought to Worlds last year.
I remember that.
That's
out
there.
Yeah. Oh, that is totally out there. Yeah. This was like a limited version, though.
Also wasn't a great team, but I'll make a better one. Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it.
Nabbit.
I wish you'd played your other team this past weekend. Anyway, I'm totally digressing. I'm just gonna double check to make sure
YouTube, I think.
Covered all of our questions here. There's nothing on YouTube.
Wait, nothing?
Nope.
Nothing.
Unless, can you pull it up? Because I can only see it from the back end, and it's been acting a little bit strangely since I've been using it. If you can pull it up on the front end and just check.
I will
be
do that thing you just
fantastic.
said, sir.
While we have a moment, can I just take the floor? Because I said I was going to come back to this point. Then the internet cut out, and I feared maybe I would not be able to, but I'm going to come back to it. And that is that y'all have been too hard on the Thanagarian.
Get out.
Each of you guys are guilty of being way too harsh on that 30-point taxi that can give somebody a 5-movement charge. I think that he's a good, decent little thing. Now, Jason has made the point that it's not a good representation of a Thanagarian, and that's fine. If we had to have a problem with every time that a character was misrepresented by their dial design, then we would never stop complaining. This show is called the Meta Lab. It's supposed to focus in on the mechanics of the game, and I don't think there's a single thing wrong with a decent move taxi with 4 clicks of life, not horrendous stats for a mere 30 points that has the ability to stand next to somebody that doesn't have move and attack. They can stand in front of them. Then they move up 3, drop the guy in front of them. That's like a 5-movement charge you just got for 30 points from your taxi.
Yeah.
Concern it. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's great. And I'm not even going to say it's mediocre. It's poor, but it's certainly not like Thunderbird level embarrassing. I think it's playable. I'm not going to go out and build my next team around it. But y'all have been pretty harsh on that Thanagarian, and I think that he deserves, or it deserves, or they deserve a little bit more of your respect.
You also did not despise Our Man, so your opinion is not very highly regarded.
You're right. Actually, now that I'm back on, y'all have been too harsh on that Our Man.
No, we're not friends anymore.
No, I like that Our Man. I think for 25 points, he's a good little damage soak for your mastermind. He can grab objects. Nobody, then he can just grab an object for overdrive to use if you need him to. If he's only 25 points, he's really, really kind of half decent, and he's hard to ignore. He deals enough damage with that object in hand that if your opponent ignores him completely, they may regret it. And if they don't ignore him completely, then they're focusing their efforts on your 25-point indomitable character, and if the regen survives even longer, and he's still up in their face, up in their grill, hitting them with objects. Y'all are being too harsh on these guys. I like that.
I think I had a stroke.
Oh my God, Tom, are you okay?
This is what I'm hearing you say. I smell toast. There's bad things happening.
Do you smell burnt toast?
No.
That's terrible.
Now somebody
strokes is serious.
Oh my God, Tom! Why are you doing this to me?
All right.
Because I don't. Because I don't
the end of our
agree.
questions for today. We're gonna wrap things up here. Thank you all for watching today, and hopefully we didn't watch it too badly without Jason here. But we always love being around and being watched and being watched. Wow, I sound like a creep. And it's always fun.
We always enjoy watching. Thanks, Mike.
Always a fun show to perform for you guys, and with that in our show notes we have that order. We have also once again Majestics to thank for their sponsorship, as well as HC Realms. Once again, put in that code MARRIED to get 10% off your purchase there. Come on down to 401 on Sundays. Most Sundays, that's when I run tournaments, and there is a fire sale on right now there, which is extra
$5 for everything.
$5 for all. Thank you for that, Jay.
Yeah. Pick up that the 2016 World Cup shirt is really good looking and really comfortable, so I would recommend that highly. And you can pretend you were there.
Hey, there's all kinds of cool swag and stuff, and why not show up to a Heroclix tournament with a cool looking shirt or a hat or whatever?
Absolutely. Yes, and speaking of hats, thank you again, Amber, for my hat. She made this for me. I'm very happy. A little bit of Banshee homage. Barry, yeah. Anyway, with that, practice
makes
your
team better.
Yeah, we've really fallen apart.
Wow. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and have a great night.